Hi there, beautiful souls watching. I'm Gabrielle, retired medium in Germany, and I like to share some of my otherworldly experiences and insights. So this one is about some QHHT stories which I was allowed to experience with some of my QHHT hypnosis clients. But before I start, I'm going to explain what you see in my background. This is one of the paintings I had to paint when I was in Brazil because it was kind of in front of my inner eye for years and I didn't know what it was. And with the free time vacation holidays in Brazil, I suddenly one year I got the idea, oh, why not buy some canvas and paint whatever. And I painted this picture that I had in front of my inner eye, not knowing what it was. Later, I found out it's a memory of another lifetime where I lived as a shaman, a young boy in the Amazon jungle, and was working with the otherworldly beings and energies for my tribe. And then even people from other tribes came and asked for advice or had questions or wanted healing or whatever. So I made this picture, painted this painting, and it was all coming naturally because I had it in front of my inner eye and I could see it. And after that, not because I'm so proud of it, I just sent it to a friend and wanted to know what she was thinking about it. And this friend was also very much into healing. And she tested the picture, which would not have come to my mind to do it, although I know the muscle testing from kinesiology or using the pendulum, the tensor, or dowsing rods. And she said, wow, that picture is emitting healing energy, and it's even kind of above the scale of the Bovis measurement, which she was used to work with. So that's why I choose this background now in the Zoom recording I'm doing for you, to give you some of the healing energy that's coming through this picture, just looking at it. I know it looks like fantasy and you have no idea how much inspiration from the divine creativity is coming through kind of fantasy things. Where do you think all the writers and filmmakers get their inspiration from? Some of the pictures from the movie Avatar, or in many other movies, or even in fairy tales, they come directly from sources inspiration. They don't come from the human brain and the human mind. And as I was an ex-graphic designer and had to work for advertisement because that was more or less the only branch you could find a job in. So you had to work for advertisement as a graphic designer. And I always felt so sick doing that because you're working more or less all the time with a lie. You make a nice package and a slogan and a catchy headline, but in the package there is poison and they call it a different name that is kind of beautifully painted with a psychological background and things like that. So to me, it was always working with the lie, and I got sick from that. So luckily, after 11 years, I could leave that and find another field to work. Sorry, my throat. And was able to find other areas where I could work as a graphic designer, and it wasn't that strong thing working with a lie. So back to the point. here we go. Think about inspiration maybe a little bit differently, because I, even as a grown-up, liked and loved always to read fairy tales. Yes, still as a grown-up, I loved to read fairy tales, because in there is so much hidden truth and hidden knowledge, but they are sold to us as fantasy books for children, so we don't acknowledge them and we don't get the value that's in there. And we are made to believe the news, talking and telling us the facts and the truth, which are more or less all lies, and we don't get it. And in the so-called fairy tales, there's so much more truth hidden in there. So that's what I wanted to say before I start. And if I go away a little bit, then you can see that's the Indio child I painted in the center. That was more or less the vision I had of being that shamanic boy in the Amazon jungle. And I wasn't aware of that. And another friend, not that spiritually, once when she saw that picture, she said to me, "Oh, that's you." And I started wondering and thinking, wow, can this be? Now I know that was or is me, because these other lifetimes, they're not past. They are all happening right now. They are parallel lives. They are happening right here and now. And if I want, I can go there, because we're all time travelers. We're all traveling through dimensions nearly every minute. When we close our eyes and are daydreaming, or going out to nature, just having a moment of relaxation, we are doing that without knowing and without being conscious about it, because we're so programmed that this is the only reality. Whatever I can touch, that's the only thing real. No, it is not. So now I'm trying to come to the point about some of the QHHT experiences I had with clients. And there were so many, and they were so interesting, most of them. Some were just potato digging lives, like Dolores Cannon used to name them. But the really interesting ones, I want to share some of these stories today with you. So I had a man who, when I had him under the hypnosis via special methods that Dolores created, it's mostly using imagery like catatonic imagery that's used in psychology as well. The how's it called? The image of the meadow. You are on a meadow. Close your eyes and imagine you're standing on a meadow and things like that. And how's your meadow looking like? I even once had a guy who had a burnt meadow. That tells volumes. But most people can feel and see the meadow, and they see flowers or birds or butterflies and things like that. So one special method from Dolores is getting the people, putting them onto a cloud where they don't feel the weight of their body any longer, because they're kind of up on the cloud and they're drifting and floating and drifting and floating. And then, because the cloud is like magic, you ask the cloud to move to another time and another place where you want to find information to help that client in the life right here and now, to solve some of the issues or problems or whatever he came with as his main theme for the QHHT hypnosis session. So when I get the people off from the cloud back down to the surface, to the ground, you have to ask them to orientate and look around what they can perceive, look at their feet to get them grounded on the ground and into the body they are then in. So that man, after I had him off of the cloud, he told me when I asked him, where are you? What are your surroundings? Please describe what you can perceive, everything, tell me. He said, oh, I'm sitting on my workplace in the spaceship in front of screens and buttons and so on. And I was kind of shocked the first time. But then it happened more often with other clients, so I got used to it. And then I found out about my own part that is on a spaceship. And so now it's more or less normal, and I have no problem to integrate that into my mind, although my head is nearly exploding from all the things I sometimes see and perceive and get to know and understand. So that guy was on the spaceship. And well, you usually bring the people into some situations and lead them to a moment in an incarnation where there is happening something important. So after I did that with him, he went to Atlantis, straight to Atlantis. And as I am a medium, a trained medium, not a self-proclaimed without trainment, I can see, not always, but most of the times, I can see what the client is describing. So I'm with him there in Atlantis. And I walked the streets with him through Atlantis, and I saw the buildings, the big stone buildings that are not looking like any of our buildings. And he went straight to the Citadel, the main center in the main city, Atlantis. And that was very interesting. And he had shared some impressions, like there was a temple and a pyramid, and within the temple they even had integrated streams of water going through the temple, and in the middle of the temple there was kind of a very big fountain, more or less, where water was already going up and down like within a fountain. And through these waterways in the temple, the mer people could come in, and even dolphins. And they talked telepathically with the dolphins and the mermaids, and they communicated, and they kind of lived with them together and shared and exchanged knowledge. So that was so fantastic, and I learned so much from that. That's only one story. Another story, which I find very, very interesting, is I had a woman coming for a QHHT session, and she was really looking like an angel. Such a beautiful woman. Of course, she was a stewardess from an airline. They only recruit and take people that are looking very beautiful. And she had long blonde hair, and her face was so how's it called? So, you know, like the Egyptian faces that are kind of constructed in the statues. They are totally equal, left to right side. There is no distinction that maybe the right eye is a little bit bigger than the left eye, and the left side of the face has more lines than the right one, or vice versa, and things like that. So it was very harmonic. Her face was so harmonic. And I was kind of blown away by this beautiful woman. And when I had her under and we went through what she wanted to know, there was one question she had put onto her list of questions. That was so interesting. She once came back home very late in the night and she was assaulted by a guy who robbed her bag and her money and everything. And she was in front of the door, just trying to open up the door of the house where she had her flat rented in. And she was kind of working with the key to get in. And then this guy came and tried to rob her bag from her shoulder. And as she was defending herself, he even punched her in this beautiful face. And he punched her hard and more than just one time, so that the blood was flooding from her nose. And I can't even imagine how a man can punch into such a beautiful face and make the nose bleed and things like that. You know, I just had to interrupt that picture in front of my inner eye because I could not stand watching that. It was hurting in my heart and my soul. And her question was, why did this happen to me? What does that situation, that unpleasant, bad experience want to teach me or to show me? And you can't imagine what her higher self or subconscious answered. I was blown away. The subconscious higher self of that beautiful woman said, "You were teaching that guy a lesson." Ponder on that for a while. That's another level of consciousness. The soul of this beautiful woman was teaching that guy a lesson. She, of course, on the human level, she experienced that she was robbed of her bag and that she was punched and things like that, and all that is bad, of course, because we are trained to view that as such. But there is another level. The soul is teaching lessons while you think you experience something negative, teaching a lesson to the other one. Isn't that interesting? And I was pondering about that a lot because I asked myself, what kind of lesson can the soul teach to that robber? Well, I tried to imagine how he felt punching her and then going, running away with her bag and her money in there to his place, his home, wherever. And I can't imagine a person so cool and not having the slightest bit of a feeling. So I'm sure that this whole thing worked in him as well. And I think that's where the teaching lesson from the soul of the beautiful stewardess that was robbed and punched was aiming at. So whatever he experienced inside of himself after the not so nice thing he did to her, I can't even imagine, but I get some faint ideas about it. So I want to leave you with that because that's really challenging, because it's a different point of view. It's a higher view, the higher view of the soul or the subconscious or higher self, however you want to name or label that. We put names and labels upon everything and think we get it by that. No, we don't. because everything is energy. And our letters and shallow words can never content all the divine energy that's in us and around us and everywhere, in all that is. So that was another experience with a QHHT client. And there is another one that I really like. I had a friend who wanted to experience QHHT, and she was also, funnily enough, working for an airline in Germany, but she wasn't flying personnel, she was ground crew. And when I had her under and got her off the cloud, she told me, I'm riding on a very big fish, a bit looking like a marlin with this long kind of horn, like the unicorn. And I'm riding through the water, and I'm wearing a headband with kind of Asian-looking symbols on it in the middle, right where the third eye is located or said to be located under the headband. And I even asked her to paint that symbol after she came out of the hypnosis for herself, to have it and to remind her, although she got the audio and could listen to the whole QHHT session afterwards. And that was so interesting. She was describing that they lived in a village and all people were more or less like her, like a little bit Asian looking with, almond eyes. And most of them were wearing these headbands and had different symbols on them, because that was kind of a thing to show which position or rank that person had in these societies. And it was more or less a water world, all these villages. She described like being simple, like Japanese houses, something like that. And they were all on wooden, now I'm missing a word again in English, on these wooden kind of legs or feet in the water or above the water. And they were all living on the coast, and there was much more water, and the whole planet was only a few islands and a lot of water. And they were living with the fish and with the consciousness of the water and the beings in there in harmony and balance and in exchange of knowledge and wisdom and everything. So that was very interesting. I'm not quite sure what planet it was, but my ideas go to Sirius, the water world. There is a water planet, and the people look kind of Asian, and they have traditions like that. And as Sirius was as well one of the cultures, or let's say our ET brethren that came and helped humanity to build up societies, of course, they brought their habits, their kind of language and symbols and their way of living and building their houses. So to me now, it's no wonder that in Asia you find a lot of that still there, but also in some other places all over the world. So that's an interesting thing. And she was riding on that fish, and she was doing healing work in her community with the help of the fish. And there were other people also riding on these big fishes through the water as if it was a transportation. but it was a living being with consciousness, and the fish was willing to carry them. Where they were co-creating and co-working together. There was no human discrimination like we think, oh, that's just an animal. It is not. It is consciousness in the form of an animal. And I once had, this is not QHHT, a funny little experience when I wasn't even a medium and still thought I'm just who I am, you know, and very much in my head. I was living near Munich in Bavaria, and I was in a garden market going around. I sometimes did that without buying anything because I like the decoration there. They have a lot of plants and, furniture for the garden. And it's just, if they really decorate it well, then it's just a very different feeling you get. So I was walking around in this garden market in Bavaria, and it was all green and palm trees and everything. And I was in a big room, and there was no one in there with me. I was all alone, no other person, but I felt watched, even though I wasn't a medium then. And I was looking around and I couldn't see anyone, and I didn't get it. And then I wandered around a little more, and suddenly, between the palm leaves, I found the cage of a bird. And in the cage, there was a gray parrot. And he was looking at me. And I was struck by that look, like being struck by lightning, because the eyes of that parrot, I felt them as equal in consciousness. No matter what the form was, it wasn't a human, but I had the feeling this is equal consciousness meeting me, looking at me, watching me. And I was kind of stunned, and I looked at that bird, and it was looking back at me. At that time, I wasn't able to communicate via telepathy with that bird. But as you know, parrots, they can get up to 150 years. That alone can tell you a lot. So they have experiences and they have knowledge as well. And they have sometimes even a higher consciousness than we humans who think we are on the edge of whatever, everything. No, we are not. So that's some of the things I wanted to share. And back to the QHHT, I had nearly everything. I had a client that was a fairy. Couldn't believe it at first, but it was like that. And she was telling me that she was sitting on top of invisible pyramids all around the earth. And high up on top of these very pointy pyramids, she was doing kind of fairy work, working with energy to help the planet and humanity. And I felt so small. And we think fairies are just a dream and they're not real and they don't exist. No, that's wrong. They do exist. And they are doing work very high up above our little human consciousness. And I had another client that went back to an incarnation as a unicorn. Yes, you heard right, a unicorn. Isn't that wonderful? And I got from her that this golden horn going out from here is her energy of the third eye. And the color gold can already tell you a lot, because gold is, well, very much associated with gods and the divine. So that can give you an idea. And the funny thing about that was, in India, when I traveled in India in my young years as a 24-year-old, I encountered these pictures they have there from their gods, Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. And they were painted like that. One half was male and the other half was female. So the whole figure of the god was male and female, like yin and yang in one shape. And the unicorn did not have that male and female from one half to the other. It had it from front to back. That was interesting. And I thought, wow, there are so many possibilities how our soul, having a male and a female part, can kind of arrange. It's not only one half, the left and the right, it can be front and back. Isn't that interesting? So, you know, there is so much, I can't even tell it all in one video, not even in 100, and I have to make it small little stories, so that's what I'm doing. And I hope you get some of the healing energy from the picture I'm sitting in front of. And as we are so kind of flying around with our consciousness all the time, we're not focused. We are like even if we are empaths and sensitive ones, without training, you don't know how to focus. And I had to learn to focus, and I'm still not very good at it because I'm digressing all the time during my videos and have to get myself back to the point. But this is important as well, because we are like the loose water hose in the garden, you know. Our focus is going from here to there during the day. And focus is like taking the hose and directing it to a special point of attention. So that is the first thing you have to learn in a mediumship group, to prepare your whole system via toning, breathing exercise, or a meditation going inside to get a balanced state and kind of get out of your head, out of all the front-loaded opinions and things we think are right, but they are not. They are just programmed into us. And we think they are true, but they are not. And so we miss out on the true things. That's why I love the analogy or the metaphor of the hammer, you know. Kind of, we are the hammer, and we don't know that there is a hand using the hammer and leading or guiding it to either build something, or you can also destruct with the hammer. So we forget about the hand of our soul and the plan our soul has, because the hand belongs to a body which does not have this form. It's energetic, etheric, does not even need a form and a shape, can be just a field or just the light, like the flame of a candle. So the soul, via her arm and hand, and the architect plan it has in its mind, is leading us through our life and guiding us to do this and don't do that and things like that. And we don't know what we are doing because we're not focused, and we think we are determining. No, mostly we are not. So we better become more aware and focused. You know, like Eckhart Tolle said so wonderfully and truly, if you feel, you can't think. And I use that sometimes also in my meditation groups or my mediumship training groups, because we walk on our feet the whole day, but we're just not aware of our feet. So if you sit down and send the focus of your attention like the ray of a torch into your feet, and start feeling into your feet, then you suddenly become aware of your feet touching the ground, how they feel. And the longer you stay there with your focus, you feel that they are alive and that they are vibrating, and you can nearly feel every cell in your feet. And even if you live on the 19th floor of a skyscraper, under that, there is Mother Earth, the soil, the ground. And even via the construction, we are still connected to the earth. And whatever floor you have your feet on, under there is Mother Earth. And one exercise is to close your eyes. Send the focus of your attention into your feet and feel them, and then feel the floor thereon. And imagine and think and remember that under that floor, and maybe under the cellar or the other floors of the building you are in, there is, in the end, Mother Earth, soil, ground. And you can, via imagination, that's why the Tibetans use that ability very often and very much, and they're not like us, being fed all the ready-made pictures from TV so that we don't even use our imagination or there it is again, our visualization power and ability. Imagine that you grow invisible roots from out of your feet that are reaching down into the earth. And you can breathe through these roots, and you breathe in the wonderful energy of Mother Earth, and you can feel the energy. You can feel its movement, whether it's slow or rapid, and it's more slow. We are all too fast with our head running ahead, and we're not really here where we are. It is a slow movement, and it has a color, and mostly it is golden, and it's kind of moving like honey, like something thicker, a thicker liquid that's moving like honey. That's the energy of Mother Earth holding us all, carrying and nurturing us. Although we trample on her, we contaminate her soil, we don't even acknowledge the elemental beings from nature. We disregard them, we disrespect them, we throw around our litter into the nature and things like that. I can perfectly understand why these realms took a step back from us for a long time, but now they are coming back because it's about uniting. And you can unite via this little exercise with Mother Earth, our mother that has everything we need, that's even growing plants and fruits to prepare for us to have something to eat. And you can also connect with the heavens, the spiritual world, via your crown chakra. And by the way, there are many more than just the 7 that are the well-known chakras in the body. There is the 8th chakra, which is one hand more or less above your head, and that's where the white color comes in, the white light, the cosmic light of Source itself, and is feeding and nurturing us as well. And only few people talk about the 8th chakra. That is exactly where the physics experiment split a ray of white light through a prism, and then you get the 7 rainbow colors that manifest kind of in our chakra system, invisible in the body, the energy wheels that draw in the energy from the invisible world, the prana, the chi or ki, or however we like to name that, from Source, which is in us, around us, and in everything that is. And there is also another chakra. I don't know whether it's the 9th. I name it the 9th because I'm kind of approaching from the mediumship or my medium state of being. I like to experience that by myself and not read about it in books and then have everything ready, named and labeled in my head. If I have an experience after that, I know because I experienced it. So there is what I call the 9th chakra below our feet, and that has the color of brown, a darkish brown, like the earth and the soil. And this chakra is always inside the earth because it's in our invisible auric field, quite some distance away from our feet. So if we connect via this exercise with the invisible roots, we are going through our invisible 9th chakra, connecting us with Mother Earth. Ooh, I think that's it for today. Already a lot of things. I leave you with that. Oh, another thing. I painted 3 of these healing pictures that are emanating healing energy, whether you understand or believe it or not. If you like the pictures, you can go to my website. They are on my website at Jimdo for free, and you can download them. There is this one with the shaman kid from Amazon jungle and the Amazon jungle surrounding, having the animal realm present, having the insect with the butterfly, having the flowers and all the wonderful earth and nature energy, and having a rainbow as the symbol, kind of the Ark of the Covenant between Source and human. And there is another one that is with a mermaid in the center that is for people from maybe Syrian origin, from the water worlds, with a mermaid in the center and a whale and a dolphin, and that can connect you to memories, faint memories of your home planet Sirius, because the picture is kind of underwater. And there's another one, a third one I had to paint with a unicorn in the center. So if you like to have one of these paintings from me, you can go to my Jimdo free website and download them, print them out, and have them somewhere to look at them during your day from time to time for a few minutes or for a bit longer, and just get healing energy from paintings, because that's also what a lot of artists do, consciously or not. They put in healing energy coming from their soul via the inspiration from Source that makes them paint something beautiful that emanates these energies. So that's now the end, and that's where I want to leave you with. Thank you, beautiful souls watching. You're always welcome, and blessings, love, and light onto your soul path. Bye.